Hi everybody, Brian from Variable Traders here. It is the weekend, May 11th, and I hope everyone's having a great weekend. It's a beautiful day out on the coast here, West Coast, and of course this is a weekend video. I'll take a look at what happened last week. We'll do a quick review of the markets. It was a pretty darn good week for the bulls again, and then we'll take another look at what's coming up this week. We've got CPI and PPI data up on deck, so everybody will be watching how those numbers come out as a read on where inflation could be going next. So let's get down to it. All right, week in review for May the 6th. Markets put in another good-looking week of gains, all on continued hopes of rate cuts that we are expecting to see later this year, or at least everybody is expecting to see. Labor market was showing a little bit of signs of weakness, sort of cooling off some more. And the consumer sentiment numbers that were released Friday, there was a big decline there, was declined from the previous measurement, and it was also a big drop from where the expectation was. So again, consumer sentiment not very good, and it was showing up here in some of the sectors that didn't perform as well, consumer discretionary. But in terms of the indexes, we finished up all in the week. You can see there, Dow's on an eight-week winning streak. It's going strong here. Utilities and financials were the biggest gainers. Utilities I covered last week. I got some trade in on that. It's a sector that's been very strong. Energy, I think, was down a little bit on oil inventories. And again, consumer discretionary. The consumer does seem to be under a bit of pressure. If you're listening to companies like McDonald's on their commentary saying they're seeing that in their business. 2-year was down quite a bit from previous week. 4.67, 10-year pretty much flat. So maybe we're going to re-invert. We're going to get to a normal yield curve where the shorter durations are below the longer-term durations in terms of yield. Dollar kind of flat on the week, up a little bit. And Bitcoin not flat on the week. Last week it was 63,500. This week we're trading around 61,000. So that's where we're at with the Bitcoin. But as you know, 24/7 market can change any time. So that was it for the week. Okay, so before we go on here, I always like to do a quick plug for my books that are available on Amazon. You can see them there, Profiting as an Active Trader, How to Swing Trade, my oldest book, and my latest book, How to Trade Options. And you'll notice I do talk a lot about options trades in the room here or on the video as well. So if you want to check those books out, they are available for sale. So let's get down and look at some charts here. Okay, so let's quickly go through some of the price action in some of the indexes over the last week. Starting out, of course, with the treasuries. You can see here we kind of did test this upper level on the 2-year, which I was flagging there as an area of potential concern if we actually did break above that. But now we seem to be rolling over again, sort of weaker job numbers and consumer confidence helping drive down the 2-year. The 10-year, you can see here, we're kind of rolling over a little bit too flat on the week, but at least we're back off that 475 level that we tested. Transports, another solid week after we put in a bit of a double bottom here. Seems to be breaking out. This is the level I would have been watching, this 15,400, and we seem to be breaking out. And looks like we may continue to go higher there. Some of this stuff could be significantly derailed if inflation comes in really hot on Tuesday and Wednesday with those PPI and CPI numbers. But as it seems right now, we've turned and burned back up to the upside. And with transports, we could be looking back, rechecking that level at some point. You can see here the Dow. The Dow's been really strong all week, put in a nice week there. And again, we're up to and going to be retesting these, possibly retesting these highs next week. You can see momentum looks, everything's looking pretty good to the upside in terms of momentum. So I expect, barring any unforeseen circumstances, we're going to see some retesting of some highs here. And you can see here with the Qs, we're right back up where, very close to where we kind of triple topped here back in March and April. So again, it's going to be all the sort of same story here. Qs again on the weekly, 3 good weeks in a row here. We're back up testing new highs. Volume's not great though. If you look at the weekly volume on the Qs, really been dropping off here, and that's kind of typical as we get into summer, but we're not quite there yet. The SPY, again, sort of same story. I don't want to keep repeating myself. Again, right back up. Looks like we're going to test the previous highs. And again, light on the volume. You don't want to, not necessarily, we don't need volume, but it's sort of a confirming indicator that if we're getting this buying on volume. So something to keep an eye on. IWM, again, we're still well off some of these highs here, put back in end of March, early April. And Friday had a little bit of struggling there. IWM really is the index that's really struggled to really get traction here, and it really needs lower interest rates to get some real interest in this. But you can see here, again, sort of a volume concern there. The VIX, there's a fear index, and that's where we are in the basement, no fear. And the dollar, again, we seem to be, we pulled back significantly last week, and now we're kind of just hanging around in a range in a week. And there's your Bitcoin number as it sits right now, 60,952. We really came down and tested some levels about a week ago, back down, dropped below sort of 57,000 and then came back up. So what I'm seeing here is a series of lower highs, which is, every time we time to rally, we don't quite make it back to the previous high. So, and also seeing a series of lower lows. So Bitcoin doesn't look particularly healthy here. It's not to say that somebody shouldn't just, jump in and buy it, but it's not the chart isn't looking particularly good right now. That's what I'm trying to say. That's it, guys. That's how we finish the week. Okay, so let's go over some of the current positions and some of the trades I did from last week's video that I thought were potential. So Boeing, talked about these 260 calls I'm still in. I keep throwing out a really low bid to see if I can get them covered, and nobody's biting yet in the pennies. So I'm still hanging in there. But I did, as I mentioned, it looked like we put in like this level here at 170. So I did sell some 170 puts down here, and they expired worthless at the end of the week. So that was a trade I had talked about last week. Gold, still in gold. Meta was one that I really thought had some interest. You could see here we gapped down, put in a higher low, and I really thought there was good potential to fill this gap here, and that's exactly what we did. But unfortunately, with all the other stuff I've going on, I did not catch this trade. But I hope that if somebody was watching this video from last week, maybe looked at that trade and took it if they felt it was appropriate for them. This was another trade setup that was exactly like Meta that I did take. Sold out for some 570s, and we got a nice gap fill here on Netflix. It really just blew through even the level that I thought were around 600. That was going to be resistance, so that was good. NVIDIA, not really sure what to do with my NVIDIA position. I'm thinking of selling it before the report. And that's about it. Oh, and there was one other one that I didn't put on here that I did trade last week, and I mentioned in the video as well. XLU, you can see we had an awesome week here, and I got out of a lot of it when we broke through this level on these candles here. So I'm still holding some, but got this really nice move from sort of 68.5, 69 all the way up here through 71. So XLU really strong last week. So that was some of the trades that I was looking at from last week and took, and some of the trades I'm still in. Okay, so let's take a look at some trades I'm looking at for this week, and you'll probably notice I've switched charts. I am probably going to flip over to working with Trading Terminal going forward. So this will be sort of the foray and see how it works out right now. But really like Trading Terminal. It's part of the Bear Bull Trader community. Lots of good information on this platform, and some great charting as well. So I'm just going to throw this one looking at potentials this week using Trading Terminal. So first one I got up here is Disney. This was their result of their earnings report. You can see here, big drop down, but we do seem to be holding here in this sort of 105, 104.50 level seems to be the low. And I'm going to be watching this next week because, again, there's a potential for it to come up and fill this gap at around 110 initial gap here, and maybe even make it back up to 115 at some point. Probably a little bit overdone, although consumer is under pressure, as we've heard from numerous companies. So not sure. We'll just keep an eye on that one. It may not get up significantly higher, but at least we might have another $5 in it. So let's look at the next one here. ARM. ARM has had some pretty good numbers. This was a bit of the sell-off, and we seem to be coming back up, getting ready to break out. And there's a level there that this 120-ish level from the 109 is a potential for us to go back up there. And it does seem to be putting in a series of higher lows. Every pullback is bought sooner, so there's potential for ARM to move higher here. RBLX is the next one I'm going to look at. RBLX is a stock that had their earnings last week. So you can see here, huge drop down. Had a bit of a comeback here on Friday, but there's some pretty significant levels here, $34. And then if we can get back up a little bit higher here into the 35, 36 range, could be a decent move back up on the rebound. So watching RBLX next week. Amazon, kind of still watching to see if it starts to break out here. It's really sort of chopping in a range. It's come back up. It's testing this previous high from April, early April, and just needs some volume to push through into new high. Boeing, again, I'm going to be looking at potential to sell 170, these 170 puts again. So Boeing, lots more bad news came out. There were more planes that had maintenance issues, wheels falling off, doors coming off. But, all that bad news, happened back here. And I think that, more bad news is kind of like people are getting numb to the bad news. So we'll see here. I'm going to look at that trade again, but it certainly has lots of challenges. You can see all the volume that's been transacted here, sort of 180 to 190, and then a lot of volume here between 200 and 210. So it's going to have to do a lot of work. All these people that are stuck here, there's going to have to do a lot of work to get through all these people that just want to get out at break even, or being made whole, as they like to say. Netflix is another one I'm looking at, and you can see here, Netflix had this reaction to earnings, gap down, came back up. As I already mentioned, I traded it last week. But I think this level here, this 630 level, is definitely going to be an area where I think we've kind of worked our way back up into this level. And I think, again, this is kind of where we're going to stall out. So maybe there's some potential to sell some calls and maybe buy some calls above it, just to protection, or sell some downside puts here, since we had such a nice move back up. And there's probably lots of support here in this area for that. And that's about it. All right, everybody, let's wrap things up here. Here's your levels for the Dow, QQQ, SPY, and IWM, support and resistance levels. We kind of broke through some resistance levels this last week, and be looking for us to retest maybe these new levels next week as we continue sort of on this bullish trend here. As far as economics and events go, PPI and CPI data, we'll just watch for that. That will be a good indicator of where inflation is going or not going, one way or the other. So everybody's going to be watching for that data on Wednesday and Thursday. As far as earnings go, we do have a bit of earnings that'll be interesting. We've got some retailers like Home Depot and Walmart Got a few Chinese stocks, JD, Baidu, and Baba. We've got some tech stuff like Cisco and AMAT. So it could be an interesting week, although we are winding down out of the earnings season. So that's it, everybody. I hope you are all having a great weekend. We will be starting our pre-market show live on YouTube at 8 o'clock. So hopefully you can join us there, and then even staying live on YouTube and trading with us at the open. So feel free to join anytime. We'll look forward to seeing you there. Have a great rest of the weekend. Bye for now.